Everyone keeps telling you the same thing. Save your first $10,000 and everything changes. You've probably heard it dozens of times. Save 10K. Reach 10K. Your first 10K is the hardest. Your first 10K changes your life. But here's the problem. They're leaving out the most important part. $10,000 doesn't magically make you wealthy. And if you reach $10,000, spend it, and end up back at zero, what exactly changed? Does your paycheck suddenly get bigger? Does your rent suddenly get cheaper? Does your car stop depreciating? Does your credit card balance disappear? Does $10,000 suddenly turn you into a wealthy person? No. And that's the uncomfortable truth nobody puts in the thumbnail. $10,000 isn't magic. But something does change when you reach it, and understanding what that really is could be far more important than reaching the number itself. Imagine two people. They both start with almost nothing. Person A spends years saving, $500, then $2,000, then $5,000, eventually $10,000. They finally feel like they've made it, and then something happens. They buy the car they've been wanting. Maybe they move into the nicer apartment. Maybe they take the vacation they've been postponing. Maybe they simply start spending more because for the first time, they feel financially safe. 6 months later, that $10,000 is gone. Now imagine person B. They reach the same $10,000, but instead of treating it like a trophy, they treat it like a foundation. And that's where the story changes. Because the real question isn't, can you save $10,000? It's, what do you do after you save it? And there's a reason $10,000 feels so powerful psychologically. When you're living with almost no financial cushion, every unexpected expense feels like a threat. A broken transmission, a medical bill, a temporary job loss, a rent increase. Suddenly something that should be an inconvenience becomes a crisis. The Federal Reserve's latest household survey found that about 63% of adults said they could cover a hypothetical $400 emergency using cash or its equivalent. Think about that. We're talking about an emergency that costs $400, not $40,000, not $10,000, $400. So when someone goes from $500 in savings to $10,000, of course it feels enormous, because they're not just gaining money. They're gaining breathing room. For the first time, an unexpected bill doesn't necessarily mean borrowing. And that feeling is real. But here's where the myth begins. People confuse financial safety with wealth. They're not the same. Let's say you finally have your $10,000. You invest the entire amount. And just for this example, let's assume an 8% annual return compounded annually. No taxes, no fees, no guarantee, just the mathematical illustration. After 10 years, that $10,000 becomes roughly $21,600. After 20 years, about $46,600. After 30 years, roughly $100,600. Now pause. That's actually pretty impressive. But notice something. You started with $10,000, and after 30 years under that hypothetical return, you have roughly $100,000. Not $1 million, not financial independence, not a mansion, about $100,000. And that reveals the first part of the myth. The magic isn't the number 10,000. The magic is time. But now let's change one thing. Instead of putting $10,000 away and walking away from it, you keep investing. Let's say you start with that same $10,000 and then contribute $500 every month. Same hypothetical 8% return, same 30 years. Now the result becomes roughly $855,000. Look at the difference. The $10,000 mattered, but it wasn't the $10,000 alone that created the result. It was the starting capital, the monthly contributions, and the decades of compounding. That's the part that gets lost in the viral 10K conversation. People talk about the first 10K like you've crossed some secret financial threshold. You haven't. You've simply reached the point where you finally have something to build on. And there's another reason this matters, because $10,000 can disappear incredibly quickly. Imagine you've spent years building it. Then your car breaks down, you lose your job for 2 months, your insurance doesn't cover everything, or you suddenly need to move. Your $10,000 can go from, "I'm finally ahead," to, "Where did all my money go?" And this is exactly why emergency savings matter. That money isn't necessarily there to make you rich. It's there to keep one bad month from becoming a 5-year financial problem. That's a completely different purpose. Your emergency fund protects your wealth. Your investments are designed to build it. And confusing those two jobs is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Now here's where things get uncomfortable, because the same person who spends years trying to reach $10,000 can reach $10,000 and then immediately upgrade their lifestyle. And modern America makes that incredibly easy. You don't have to wait until you can afford something. You can finance it. U.S. household debt is roughly $18.8 trillion. Credit card balances are around $1.26 trillion. Auto loan balances are around $1.7 trillion. And Americans originated roughly $211 billion in auto loans in the second quarter of 2026. So imagine this. You finally saved $10,000. You feel successful. Then you walk into a dealership. The salesperson doesn't ask, "Do you have enough wealth to buy this?" They ask, "What monthly payment are you comfortable with?" And suddenly, your $10,000 isn't the beginning of wealth, it's the beginning of another payment. That's how the milestone can become a trap. Not because saving $10,000 was a mistake, but because you treated the milestone as permission to spend. And psychology makes this even more dangerous, because humans adapt. You get the new car, at first it feels incredible. You notice it every morning, you take pictures, you tell your friends. Then 3 months pass, it's just your car. The excitement fades. The apartment you dreamed about becomes normal. The expensive restaurant becomes normal. The upgraded phone becomes normal. And suddenly, you're looking for the next upgrade. This is called hedonic adaptation. Your brain adjusts to improvements. And that's why someone can earn $60,000 and feel broke, then earn $120,000 and still feel broke, then earn $200,000 and somehow still feel like they're behind. Their income changed, their lifestyle changed, but their financial behavior never changed. And that's why $10,000 isn't the real milestone. The real milestone is becoming someone who can keep money. Think about it. Anyone can receive $10,000, a bonus, an inheritance, a tax refund, a lucky investment, a big paycheck. But wealth isn't created by receiving money. It's created by what you do with money after it arrives. That's why I think the more important question isn't, how long will it take me to save $10,000? It's, what kind of person will I become once I have it? Will you finally stop using debt for emergencies? Will you keep your lifestyle below your income? Will you invest every month? Will you stop upgrading every time you get a raise? Will you let your money sit there long enough to compound? Because if the answer is yes, then $10,000 can absolutely change your life. But not because $10,000 is magic, because you changed. And here's the part nobody tells you about the next $10,000. The first $10,000 can feel painfully slow. You are doing almost everything. You work, you save, you cut expenses, you invest, you wait. But once you have capital, your money starts participating. At $10,000, an 8% hypothetical return is roughly $800. At $20,000, it's $1,600. At $50,000, it's $4,000. At $100,000, it's $8,000. Same percentage, different dollar impact. And that's why larger balances can feel different. Not because $10,000 unlocks a secret level, but because capital gets larger. Your money has more money to work on. And this leads to one of the most important financial lessons you can learn. Your first $10,000 isn't the destination. It's your first proof of concept. It proves you can create a gap between what you earn and what you spend. It proves you can delay gratification. It proves you can leave money alone. It proves you can build capital instead of immediately converting every raise into a nicer lifestyle. And once you've proven that, the next $10,000 becomes less about survival and more about momentum. So maybe we've been asking the wrong question this entire time. Maybe the question isn't, does $10,000 change everything? Maybe it's, what does reaching $10,000 reveal about you? Because if you reach $10,000 and immediately spend it, nothing really changed. If you reach $10,000 and then use it to take on more debt, nothing really changed. If you reach $10,000 and your lifestyle rises until you're back at zero, nothing really changed. But if you reach $10,000 and decide, I'm never going back to zero, now something has changed. And that's why I don't think your first $10,000 is the moment you become rich. I think it's the moment you discover whether you're actually becoming wealthy. There's a difference. Rich can be income. Rich can be a car. Rich can be a house. Rich can be an impressive lifestyle. Wealth is what remains. It's the money you don't spend, the investments you keep, the debt you don't take on, the choices you can make because you don't need your next paycheck to survive. And maybe that's the real secret behind the first $10,000. It doesn't change everything. It gives you the chance to change everything that comes after it. So the next time someone tells you, just save your first $10,000, everything changes. What am I going to do with it when I get there? Because $10,000 isn't the magic. The person who knows what to do with $10,000 is.